Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Thank you so much for watching. I told you we're going live.
I know, but you were talking about something else, and then all of a sudden you start talking to the camera. I wasn't ready. Sorry.
Oh, Lord. Anyways, welcome.
Hi. I'm Bobby.
Welcome. We got applause. Applause. Thank you. All right, so we have so many movies to talk about today. I know everybody's watching the interview with Harry and Meghan. I will be too.
I won't.
But as you know, we do our show no matter what. Whether we're on vacation, that one time that we had our flight delayed at the airport or whatever.
We've done one at the airport.
We've done it in Thailand, at airports, hotels. We've been everywhere. I've been everywhere, man. I've
done my interviews for people the same way.
Oh, yes. You've been in airports.
I've done them at conventions.
Yep.
Where I had to run off to, I remember interviewing Kane Kasuki, and he was in Japan, and we were at a comic convention. I had to run over to find the quietest place I could in the building, interview him. And then I remember traveling to Celebration. And Joe Lynch, who directed Mayhem and Wrong Turn 2 and a bunch of other stuff, called me. And so it was funny. The first time I interviewed, I remember sitting in an airport. I told him, I said, I apologize for the noise. I'm in an airport. He's like, oh, where are you going? So I'm going to Celebration. He's like, you son of a bitch. So
I think I just shared this twice, but
excuse me.
I shared it twice because it's so nice.
Then when I interviewed him the second time, I said, I don't know if you remember me or not, but I was with everybody. He goes, you're the one going to Celebration, you asshole.
Yes.
Yes. So anyway,
all right. Okay. So let's talk about movies.
We got a big show today.
Let's talk about movies, baby.
A really big show.
Do you and
It's
me.
a really big show.
That's a really good show.
It's one of the few shows that we've done that we have like 6 movies and we've seen all of them together.
We normally try to do that. Excuse me. I have a little drippy.
We try to do that, but it doesn't always work.
I know, with our schedules.
Usually I have to get something reviewed and I can't wait on your nonsense.
I know, because I get all excited about these movies and then I'm like, what was that again?
She will ask me the same movie. What is this? And it's always like, I have no idea what we're watching. Even though like 5 minutes before I told her what we're watching. We put in one movie and she goes, I know nothing about this movie. And I'm like, honey, I just read the back of the box to you. She's like, did you?
Did you? No, here's the thing. Friday, we went to the movies and we're sitting in the theater. I'm like, I don't even know what movie you're watching. I hope it's good. Like, I honestly.
And we had talked about it before we left.
I scanned my ticket with the guy and I still have no idea.
Before we even left, we were talking about it. And we had talked about it numerous times. We bought the tickets earlier in the week. It was like, this goes on all the time. And there have been many times, like she mentioned, where I won't watch a movie because she's like, I really want to watch that. And then when it finally gets where I have to have the review done like the next day, she's like, oh, honey, just watch it without me. I don't care about that. I'm like, I've been holding because you said you wanted to watch it. And it's a very rare occasion that she watches movies after I watch them. When I say, okay, I'm going to watch this, now you watch it, that we can talk about it. Usually she won't.
Sometimes I do.
There's movies that we've talked about on here that y'all have heard her get super excited that I really want to watch that. She still has not watched a single one of them. So if we go back to revisit, if you go back to any of the shows, find a movie and say, oh, she said she wanted to watch it. I guarantee she still hasn't seen it. Guarantee it.
And maybe not. All right. What do we want to talk about? I was thinking we'd start here first. That sounds like a good place to start. Okay, so this movie, tell us about it.
Okay, so the first one is a documentary. And it's the movie itself is different than what I thought we were getting.
I agree.
Not necessarily in a bad way. But it's a documentary about called Stray, as you see on the screen now. And it's not just following these animals. I mean, it is, but it's actually, it takes place in Turkey.
Correct.
And they have a law that it is against the law to, pick up or euthanize or anything stray dogs. Because there was this big outrage that, if I remember correctly, they were scooping up all the stray dogs and euthanizing them. And then the public outrage about it. So they put a law where you're not allowed to do that.
How cool is that?
Yeah, so there's just tons of dogs that just
roam
free.
And I've been there, and I will tell you, I remember we were walking on our way to dinner, and there was like a whole little plaza park area with a fountain, and there were dogs just sleeping everywhere. Yeah. And I'm like, what the heck is going on?
So this film follows 3 dogs. Technically, when you watch it, it's hard to tell that it follows 3 dogs. It seems like it follows one main dog.
Yeah, but it's like.
But in reality, it follows this
her
one
and
main
her
one,
friend,
the little small one,
and then the baby,
and then the other one. So But what it does is there's no dialogue, there's no narration. It's pretty much a quiet movie. Mm-hmm. The only noise you hear is the noise of the world. Yeah. And the only voices you ever hear, as opposed to somebody telling you what's going on with them, it's just the people that are talking when they might be nearby the dogs.
Right.
And what this movie is doing is it's basically taking you on a journey of what the dogs experience every day.
Yeah, and it's actually super interesting. So the main dog, the big dog you see on the screen is Zetin. And it's a girl, and there's another dog, I think it's a male dog, that looks similar to her, where it gets confusing. Yeah. It's called Nazal.
Yeah, it's hard to figure out which one you're following.
Or Nazar, and then this little baby dog is Kartal. Yeah. And she is like beloved, and things happen.
Yeah, so there's these different areas where people like love to want to take care of these dogs. So there's like at the docks, there's this group of guys
Kartal's from
that takes care of all the dogs that are over there. They feed them, they protect them. Mm-hmm. There's this group of homeless, I guess, kids. Drug addicts.
Yeah, poor kids. They're basically huffing glue all day.
Yeah, and they're homeless, but they love the dogs and they want to take care of them and they befriend them. And so there's not an abusive thing that we're dealing with. It's people that love and care for these dogs, mm-hmm. but you're just seeing how do they survive without homes.
Yeah, and so one of it was the main ones that like that one time she goes to that fountain to drink water. Like, well, that's smart.
Yeah.
And then, they're digging through the trash, and the trash men were helpful, and they gave him some bones out of the trash. So I'm like, that's
there's
nice.
One where the one dog is carrying this big bone, and another dog comes to take it.
It's that Nazar.
And the guy pulls over in his truck, gets out.
He's like, hey.
And he kind of shoos him away and makes sure the one, because they have two bones, so he's letting the one take
you don't need two bones.
So it's interesting dynamic of even how you see the people like.
Yeah, and the one where that guy gave the little girl like stuff to go feed the dogs. Yeah. He's like, it's okay, they won't hurt you. So, but besides just the story of the dogs, you actually get to see the story of the people around them. So like these poor homeless kids that they're just wandering from place to place, trying to find a place to sleep.
And then they're kind of inadvertent stories. They're not like when you walked into this movie, you expected to do a story about this. They don't tell you anything about the people.
It's interesting, and I felt kind of bad for these kids.
you don't get any kind of thing where, a lot of movies like this will cut to like a sequence where it's like some text on the screen that says Phil was this and he did this. You know nothing about them other than just how it's
the story. And it was interesting. There was the one kid, they're all high, sniffing this glue all day long. And you get a little sense of like his family probably disowned him or kicked him out because he's a drug addict. And, he's like, yeah, I was arranged to marry a girl, but I wouldn't marry me either. Who would want a drug addict? And I'm like, oh, that's so sad that he's that self-aware, but he doesn't reach out for help necessarily. Yeah. It's kind of sad.
Well, then there's like one of the guys that takes care of Kartal or whatever. Like they're just wanting one of the dogs because they want a dog to love and care for. And he's like, you can't have these dogs. We take care of these dogs. And he even tells me, he's like, if you want to come and try to steal one, I'm not going to say anything because he wants to give them the dog, but he doesn't believe that they can take care of it because they can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, they're homeless.
He does, and it's an interesting discussion because the guy's not being mean. Mm-hmm. He's basically saying, who's going to take care of this dog? You can't take care of you.
Yourself. Yeah.
He goes, and he sees that they really love these dogs and want to deal with it. So he's not willingly going to give them to him, but he's like, if you take one, you can't really do anything about it, and so
that part of the story was all kind of sad, just centering around those kids wandering the streets. But you get a little insight into the city that they're tearing down all these old buildings. They're going to build new stuff. And so a lot of these people get displaced and just don't really have anywhere to go. But
yeah, it was crazy because there's one building these kids get thrown out of, and they had gone in and cleaned it up and put some furniture in it, and were living there. And then the owner of the building threw them out, and they're like, "But we cleaned it up because it was all disgusting and disheveled, and nobody's living there. It looks like a war zone.
Yeah,
it's like just rubble and destruction." And he's like, "I don't care. This is my property. Y'all have to go." And so they leave, and of course that means when they leave, the dogs kind of go different directions, and they come back, and it's very interesting.
But to me, that was kind of an interesting dynamic that the dogs are more cared for and well treated than these poor homeless kids that obviously they need help
because there's no outrage for them.
Yeah, I mean, they're. What was interesting though, the cool thing is like the food truck that comes by at night to feed all the homeless people.
Yeah.
And these kids, they give their food to the dogs.
Yeah.
Like they don't even care; they're getting it for the dogs. So I mean, it's just. It was kind of sad.
Yeah.
But interesting. And then you just follow this dog through the city and see what happens. And that's kind of it. Really.
Yeah, it kind of abruptly ends. Mm-hmm. But then when you think about it, it's like, it's not abruptly ending because it just was like an artistic choice. It's because it doesn't end. It's just the only other ending would be this dog dies. And thankfully we don't see that.
No one died.
No one dies, but it's not depressing like that. But it is sad just seeing. But then you think about it as an animal. None of these animals seem sad and disheveled.
No, they don't know.
Because you see stray dogs, and they're all scared and they're shaking. These dogs, that's their life, and they're like any other wild animal at this point.
Yeah.
The difference is they have an entire country, if you will, to take care of them.
Yeah.
Like the one dog, it was stressing her out because it just goes on and just lays in the street.
And it was in the middle of an intersection, but everybody drove around her.
They just drove around because it just got comfortable. It was like,
it's like, hey, I'm going to take a little nap here, but everybody just drives around.
And other times they're just sitting there, people walk by and pet it, say
him,
hello.
they throw things, like food at him or whatever, and I was like, okay.
It's interesting. Don't get me wrong, there's a handful of people that are like, walk around them that don't really trust them,
but most of them pet them. They look out for them. Like when that truck was going to back up or whatever, they're like, move or be careful. And the police look out for. I mean, everybody. It
was an interesting just to see an insight, and I think the design was just so you can. And there's even a moment in the film that they literally put a camera on the dog. But
oh my gosh, that was like
but it was really an insight to experience what the dog experiences in this world of being homeless. But not being persecuted, I guess the word would be. Because they're not running from things. They're not. The worst stuff that happens in the movie is because two dogs getting in a fight.
Yes.
And there is a moment where like multiple dogs are attacking one dog.
Yeah.
But then the people break it up.
Yeah, they try to help them.
Whereas most of the time you see it's either dog fights, people are running, or people not even caring or ignore them or take them away,
Yeah. I think my whole favorite scene of the movie is kind of towards the end when the call to prayer, the guy singing, because and the little dog's howling and singing along. I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, it's during the credits. It's like he was, I believe he was asleep, and he gets up, and he just starts howling.
Oh, that was fun. Anyways, the movie Stray. Where can we watch it, babe?
Oh, that is a valid question. I'd have to look at the review part.
Well, let's go look down here.
I think it's on demand.
On demand now for Magnolia Pictures.
In theater.
Yeah, because I mean it's just a little documentary. It may come and go without anyone noticing, but we enjoyed it.
Yeah.
All right, next movie.
Let's talk about that one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, that's where I'm going.
All right, so this next one was one I was really excitable for. I think you even got excited.
I was excited because
this is how
it's built.
And this is a perfect example of a movie that normally she would have never watched.
Yes.
Like she would have told me she wanted to watch it, and then she would have never saw it. But thankfully, she watched it because I mentioned I was fixing to watch it. She goes, "Oh, I want to watch that one."
I do.
So as we've talked about before, it's called Crazy Samurai 400 versus 1. It is. I don't think the story itself is based on a true story, but it is based on a real person.
Yeah, right.
It's. Let me pull up here real quick.
That makes me want sushi.
It's based on Miyamoto Musashi.
This makes me want sushi.
It's based on Miyamoto Musashi, and the premise of the film is uber simple.
Yes,
it's Miyamoto is basically has challenged or being challenged by this other lord. They've killed off the other one. There's like a small boy who's now in charge of everything.
Of the clan.
Yeah, of the clan. So now they're waiting to face off, and the entire movie is the face off.
Correct.
And so what's unique about this film is it features a 77-minute one-take action sequence.
Yes.
Which is the one guy fighting all these people.
All the 400.
So let me first tell you, if you see the trailer looks super badass.
Yes.
It's a little bit misleading.
Yes.
Because and it's not necessarily a bad way.
A bad way.
Like, and I'm going to tell you,
I understand
from my visual appearance, somebody else watching this is going to have a different experience if you're not a martial artist.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Are you using the thing to clean your desk?
I
am. So in the trailer, they use this really badass fight sequence, which was actually not part of the 77-minute fight sequence. It's a fight sequence at the end of the film that is a more stereotypical, choreographed shot fight scene. And it is good. It's a quick fight. It's very good. There's a lot of other scenes that are chopped in that are from the fight. So before we talk about how it's done, the ins and outs of it, what did you think of the movie itself?
Overall, it's okay.
Yeah.
I was expecting something like epic and like attack, fight. And it kind of was.
Here's the problem.
But
it's done more in a real life ideal. It is not dynamic.
Which is real life.
Yeah.
I mean, but not really, because the attacks, like, I kind of get from tradition, you don't attack someone from behind.
Well, no, that's a different discussion. I'm talking about just the.
But there was not the level of intensity that I was expecting.
So here's where, and I agree with you. Here's my thing with this movie is it's a lot of very fundamental attacks and strikes. Stepping away from it as a martial artist and working on a movie before.
Yeah.
Understanding what it takes to set up a sequence, how many people you need, how to do stuff. There are a lot of things that you have to forgive on how they put this together, or there's no other way it could have worked.
Yeah, I understand why.
At the same time,
I get it.
It does take, if you don't have that mentality, if you're just an average movie watcher and you're just watching this movie for excitement, you're going to be like, what the hell?
Some of the strikes are cool, though.
Yeah, because he has a one very basic strike, which is more of a chop slash, where it's a block straight to the top of the head.
It reminds me of that samurai video game, which
which he does a lot. So here's the thing: is clearly they reused a lot of the guys.
Yes,
because I doubt they had 400 people.
So just know it's not super fast paced and adrenaline rushing. It's very much like fight this guy.
It's one long shot.
Fight this guy.
It's pop, pop, slash, slash, slash. There's very minimal blood. The blood that is there is clearly CGI'd because they doing a one take like this. There's obviously no way they could have put tons of squibs on people and made it work and made it graphic. And there are some moments which I give them props. They clearly tried to design it where you wouldn't see what was happening to people. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the people that get stabbed or killed either stumble off a screen or they fall down and then they try to crawl away.
Yeah, and it's interesting. There was one, and they didn't cover it very well, where the guy was like this and he's like
trying to inch out of the camera.
But there was another.
But did you see that how they would converge in front of them?
That's what I was going to say. There was another one where the guy fell kind of between the trees, and so this other guy stepped up in between the trees, and then when he moves out, the body's gone.
Yeah, there was one I saw later in the film where a guy falls and like 4 people get in front of him, and they're all doing their thing, so that that guy has a chance to get away
because he needs to go get redressed to come back as
that, or just circle to a different side. And
yeah,
they had all the guys were very generically looked.
Oh, that's true. They were all wearing blue.
You probably wouldn't even notice the same guy got killed 35 times.
You did. You're like, hey, that's that same guy.
That guy's dead already. But and then
I get it. You can't have a pile of bodies if you need it to be 400 guys. Yeah,
it gets later on where you start seeing more bodies.
Yeah.
But initially they're moving, they're doing stuff, and they're trying to keep it working. The sword play is, again, I'm not fully trained in Japanese swords. I've got training in weapons. I know how to use a sword. But I don't have the ins and outs of every moment and how you do every little holding and thing. I know fundamentals. But it was clear that they were doing as close to traditional movements. It was a lot of meat slash. Mm-hmm. You know, not actually like meat slash, but it was meant to be, you know, my understanding was always you're not supposed to stand there with a long sword fight. It's deflect, cut to kill.
Yes.
And that's what these were. Mm-hmm. Even though there were moments where it didn't kill anybody, people still might have fallen. There was moments where they threw the sword, which most samurais are not going to throw the sword. No. But I did read about this guy who was apparently known for throwing his sword.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I found that interesting after the fact that, okay, this guy threw swords a couple of times.
Yeah, just to throw him off the game.
Yeah, and then this guy was supposedly known for throwing swords at people. And it's also said he was known for using a spear sometimes. And there's a moment in the movie that he uses a long blade sword thing and spears. Cool. And, but they also break it down where periodically they have like some one-on-one fights. Mm-hmm. But even they're very quick.
Yeah.
And the biggest props goes to the main guy.
He just kept going.
I always forget it. I say Tak Sakaguchi, who's from the movie Versus and Yakuza Weapon. He has to take the brunt of this entire fight. Like these other guys, the whole thing. Yeah, and he's visibly sweating and winded.
I like that throughout it. He like sneaks off to little areas and finds water.
Yeah, it's clearly they set up swords.
They place up extra swords
and water.
They pre-place.
It makes you wonder: was the story supposed to be telling you that he set up these areas because he knew he was going to fight?
I think he did.
It's like if somebody, like when I used to play guns with my kids.
Yes.
I'd have guns hidden all over the house, like toy guns. So I would run from them, and then all of a sudden I'd come around the corner with a pistol. Like wait, we took your gun, but I'd always have it planted, even in the freezer.
Well, and then Daniel, when he was growing up, he'd have that plastic shotgun behind the side of his bed, so he could be like.
He had guns hidden all over the place too. I trained him well.
These people. But yeah, I think that.
But it made me think that I wonder if that was what they were doing, or were we just supposed to let it go and say, okay?
I was just letting it go. The poor guy was panting.
He a fresh sword and he needed to drink some water.
He was panting so hard and sweating.
I give him full credit because you can tell he's struggling through that. He's physically exhausted.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And I know from doing 5-hour belt tests, 2-hour hard classes, that's a lot of time. So you think
I was thinking when you did your sword training, that was how long was that class? An hour, 2 hours?
That class was 2 hours every day.
I mean, you get tired.
It is.
That's a long time.
In the class I was doing, you're working on drills and techniques and
that's
stuff.
what I'm saying. So he's
doing
all those
swords, and he's having to do multiple people and run through the city and be outside.
I mean, it was good. I mean, I wish it had been a little bit more dynamic. There were parts of it that were slow, but overall it was good. It was fine.
To me, it's more of a film that is a study in kind of how to film something like that.
Yeah.
Because
it was smartly executed.
Yeah, it's not an exciting film. A lot of people that are seeing the trailer and then watch the movie will probably think it sucks. I think martial arts people that can separate from things like The Raid and things like that to be in the super dynamic action fight sequences and appreciate what they're doing in the film, it's a better movie.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It's smart the way they did it. There's even one fight scene where these two other guys start fighting, so this guy can get a break.
Yeah, it was smart.
So it's smart, and they thought ahead. And they did throw in the one guy that had the the mace and the chain. So they did give us a few different things, and then the other clan comes and shows up to fight them, and they're like, "We're from House whatever clan." Yeah. So it's
an interesting movie. It's not the movie I thought I was going to get.
I agree,
but I still give it
okay.
full credit for the work that it took to just make the movie.
That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Well, and you can tell, here's the other thing, is that the camera guy had to stick with him for an hour, Well,
I'm sure they might have had somebody in the background, change them out.
And I'm feeling like in my back of my mind, there's somebody back there going like this.
Oh, I'm sure there
has to be because they're walking through tall grass and trees, a little abandoned city over the bridge back this way.
Yeah, it's not just one fight in one little area.
No, you're moving through forest and trees, and so I feel like you had the guy with the camera, the guy that's behind him. You have this guy over here directing, and probably another over here. There's so much happening, and it was really smart.
I don't think it had any bonus. I was really hoping for the bonus feature to see if there was like a behind-the-scenes making of it, but. And apparently this was something that the guy that made it had been wanting to make for a while. And
it was fine.
Pull it off. I give him props. It wasn't as exciting as what I was hoping for, but it is a very impressive feat of what they pulled off physically. Mm-hmm. So you can check it out on Blu-ray and DVD, and we're giving away copies of it right here on
HollywoodMatrimony.com.
Moving on.
Do you want to go here? You want to go here, here, here?
I don't care. Why don't we go to
this one?
No.
No. This?
No.
This?
Yes.
No. All
right. So the next one, this week launched the brand new streaming service Paramount Plus, which used to be CBS All Access. It got rebranded to Paramount Plus, brought in all the CBS stuff, as well as all the other new stuff. And one of the first original films hitting the Paramount Plus streaming service exclusively is the new SpongeBob feature film, SpongeBob. The SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run.
Sponge on the Run.
So this movie was supposed to be a theatrical release, but because of COVID, it's another one of those that got held back. It actually got released in theaters and or Netflix or something in other countries
internationally.
Last year.
So they've already seen it. A lot of people
have seen it, but they held it and made it part of the Paramount Plus streaming. So they launched it this week. If you already had CBS All Access, you might not know, but you have Paramount Plus already now. Mm-hmm. If you don't have it, you need to get it. But it also, in conjunction with that, they were kind of smart. They launched this movie, but they also launched a new series, Camp Coral, which is SpongeBob and Friends' first CGI computer theory.
Cold, like I told you I was going to be.
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to turn the fan
when they're all kids and they're
like
a summer camp thing. Yeah, it's probably making all kinds of noise in the camera.
Sorry. I don't think
so. Anyway, this is the third SpongeBob film. So we're maybe not her as much, but we're a SpongeBob house. And I say that because I'm a SpongeBob fan. My daughter was a massive SpongeBob fan. And probably partially because of her, I got to watching it. And then I would watch it while I was drawing my cartoons and stuff. It's just kind of the vibe. You're okay with SpongeBob.
I like SpongeBob. I'm not like a super mega fan. I don't remember everything like Mackenzie does.
No, yeah.
But I do enjoy it.
So we were excited for this new movie. So we sat down to watch SpongeBob, Sponge on the Run. And what are your thoughts, ma'am?
I think it's hilarious.
The movie is awesome.
It's ridiculous, but it's funny. They're in search of the lost city of Atlantic City, which you see on the poster. And I'm like, okay. Oh, it's so dumb. I mean, and here's the thing.
I think SpongeBob...
I'm like, am I dumb? Because the same joke is still funny to me.
You are, but not because of that.
Okay.
But I think SpongeBob... I was telling somebody this Saturday, and they told me they had lost respect for me because I love SpongeBob.
That's okay.
But I think SpongeBob, the cartoon, the movies, are some of the most cleverly written...
They are clever.
Stuff. It almost has... SpongeBob is almost a current version of the Flintstones. Whereas they take that universe and they create inventions and different ways to connect it to the real world, but with different names.
Yeah.
You know, like the Lost City of Atlantic City and Atlantic City and, you know.
It's so funny.
Taking different things that may be the name of a store or the type of food or the car or whatever and making it fit the underworld world. None of it makes any sense. It's like, why is it raining underwater? And
exactly.
none of it makes any sense. But you're watching a movie about Sponge.
Yeah, you go with it.
This is a full-on CGI movie.
Yeah, which I wasn't as a fan of as the normal cartoon.
I was worried, but I loved it this way.
I like the normal animation.
I do too. I love it, but I love that this movie is so vibrant and
it is super vibrant.
It's so funny. Like, you just give me Patrick and SpongeBob and Squidward, and I'm happy all day. I don't even care what they're doing.
Patrick is so dumb. Poor thing. Patrick's so dumb.
That's what makes him so fun.
I like Squidward. I personally identify with Squidward.
You do identify with Squidward because you're grumpy as hell.
I am.
You just don't play the clarinet. You play.
I used to play clarinet.
Did you? Well, then there you go.
There you go.
And you have a lot of legs.
I do.
But it's a funny movie. It's got tons of real life guest stars.
Yes.
That we won't tell you about. There are a couple that show up in the trailer.
You do not want to miss.
If you've seen the trailer, you know one big guest star that's in it. The Sage.
More.
The Sage is actually in the trailer.
Oh, cool.
But we won't say who plays the Sage in case you haven't seen it.
There are more.
But I was really surprised.
Some fun musical numbers.
I was surprised that the Sage character was actually in the movie for a lot longer than just a cameo.
It wasn't a cameo. It was an actual guest starring role.
Yeah. And then there's a whole Western musical number, I guess you call it.
Musical number.
It's ridiculous when you see who it is. It's like,
so
wait,
fun.
what?
It's fun. This movie's just fun. It gives you your normal stuff of Plankton trying to get the secret recipe.
Every episode.
Patrick and SpongeBob going on a little adventure without really knowing what they're doing. The robots are there. Sandy's there. I mean, Squidward, Mr. Krabs. It's your normal cast. The normal formula, just in movie form. And the adventure's a little bit grander than just in a normal
I would give them
story.
big props. Every movie they've done has felt bigger than the TV show.
Yes.
And that's one of the big mistakes they make. Like the South Park movie and the Beavis and Butthead movie, as much as I love them, they still felt like those could have just been episodes
just a long
on the
episode,
show. And there's a new Beavis and Butthead movie coming to Paramount Plus. I'm super stoked about.
I know you're excited.
Me and you are going to rewatch the entire series of Beavis and Butthead.
Babe, that's too much stupidity.
And the movie.
I am the great portfolio. I know. I mean, I watched it.
We also have the first 200 episodes of SpongeBob.
Oh, my goodness. Anyways.
Right next to Killer Bong.
Anyway,
you
should watch this movie. Yeah. It's super cute.
And Camp Coral is really funny, too.
Yeah, I started watching that, and I was like, wait, is that a narwhal? I love narwhals.
The narwhals are crazy.
They're the magical unicorns of the ocean.
So if you like SpongeBob, then you will love this movie.
Yes.
If you hate SpongeBob, you will hate this movie.
I don't know why anyone would hate SpongeBob.
There's a lot of people that are against SpongeBob.
I can understand not enjoying it, but why would you hate it?
Well, there's a whole thing, too, now that...
He's a sponge.
SpongeBob is bisexual or something that came out.
He's a child.
No, he's not. He's an adult man.
Well, he is now.
But he's a sponge.
But he's a sponge. Sponges.
He's not even an underwater sponge. He's like a dish sponge.
Yeah,
which makes even less sense to this whole story, but that's another argument. But no, there's a whole thing where I don't remember if he's like gay or if he's bisexual or if he just relates. Like Nickelodeon had said it, and even the guy that plays him, I think it's awesome that he connects. But it's like one of those things that I don't disagree with it. I just don't think it's necessary.
Now I gotta go find out.
But we'll deal with that. Let's do that after the show.
Okay.
So anyway, the SpongeBob movie, Sponge on the Run, is finally here. It's available exclusively on Paramount Plus. If you don't have it, you should get it because it's totally worth it. It has all their shows, the new stuff, the old stuff. There's all kinds of brand new stuff coming exclusively to Paramount Plus. So it's fully worth it. So if you have CBS All Access and you haven't watched anything in a while, go look at it because it's probably already updated to Paramount Plus now.
I'm telling you, it did. The app finally updated on my phone like a day later. Oh, sorry.
All right, so moving on.
All right, check it out. We're going
to our animation discussion.
Let's go to animation domination.
All right, the next film,
completely different tone.
It's also an animated film that was supposed to be a full-on theatrical release, and it in fact did get a theatrical release to most theaters.
Yes,
there are some theaters, I believe Cinemark and some others, that are still fighting Disney because they don't like that they're doing the exclusive streaming, so they won't play their movies.
So they're missing out on potential revenue
because they're doing
because they can't get all the revenue.
But then there's some of the theaters that aren't even back open yet.
True.
So there's that problem too.
Please open theaters. Well, I wonder now. So in the state of Texas, they've decided to open up 100%, and masks are no longer required. They're kind of recommended.
Every business will make its own decision.
Yes, but so I wonder, will that help theater reopenings?
Here's your problem:
but they make the rules in their theater.
They make the rules, but you can do whatever you want. It's will the people go?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of people I've seen that said, I don't care when things open at all. I'm not going back to a theater.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people's like, it's going to be years before I return. It's going to be years before I do this. Because there's so many people there are some people that are living in literal fear.
Yes.
And there's other people like us that
we're cautious.
We follow the rules. We respect the stuff. We've had the COVID stuff. We don't, we're over dealing with all that. We don't want it again, but we also aren't shutting our lives down.
Yeah.
But we're not going to endanger other people, that don't feel safe or whatever and make them feel bad about what they're doing either. But two people aren't going to change.
I know. I mean, we try, we go when we can. Well, and then I don't know if you saw on the Rowlett thing page, that's where we live. So
thanks. Now
they posted this article where it's like, yeah, things may reopen, but does it even matter? Because people have now adjusted to this. Like us, we have a theater at home. Yeah. We have a gym at home.
Like I'm not gonna lie.
You can order food for delivery. Like
I'm fine not going to the movies anymore.
We don't have to leave
as long as I have access to them.
Yeah.
Like, but there are things like things like Kong versus Godzilla,
or like this
Star Wars, and things like this. I still want to see on the massive screen, the loud booming systems,
and like what this Raya and the Last Dragon.
But I would be fine watching it at my home theater if that's what it came down to, and paying for it. But speaking of which, we're talking about Raya and the Last Dragon,
available on Disney Plus,
and much like they did with
Mulan.
No, Mulan didn't get it. I think this is the first one then, because I think Soul went straight to Disney Plus as well.
It did.
Okay, so this is the first one, I believe, Disney Plus has done a simultaneous release.
Oh, because theaters. Mulan was just buy it.
And Soul just came to Disney Plus.
Correct, and this one's buy it or theater.
Yeah, so this is the same way Mulan did, but it opened in theaters as well, and it has exclusive early access for $30 if you buy it. You can buy it, but once you buy it or rent it or whatever, it's yours. It's on your Disney Plus permanently. We paid for it because we'd already gone to the theater and we were babysitting the granddaughter, so we couldn't really go again. So we paid for it mainly because I believe in supporting the money that went into this movie. A lot of people had that fight about Mulan of like, well, why would I pay for that? I already paid for this service.
So our granddaughter could watch it.
They still spent $100 million something to make these movies.
Yeah.
The movie made less than Tom and Jerry did in the theaters.
Well, and that was the other argument in this article is pay the $30 because if you take you and your two kids to the movie theater, that means two tickets.
Well, that's not even the argument. A lot of
now.
people, the argument too is people are mad that they pay for Disney Plus already.
And then they pay the movie. But
you don't have to. If you want to wait till June 4th, then Raya and the Last Dragon will show up on Disney Plus.
For free. Yeah.
As a movie review site, I don't want to wait till June 4th to review something. I need to review it now while it's fresh.
Yeah.
So we paid for it. It wasn't sent to us. We paid for it.
You want people to know we paid for it.
Well, I do want them to know because I want them to understand that.
And the charge went to my personal card instead of our card.
Oh,
so I paid for it.
Okay, well, you have a job.
It was worth it.
But the reason I put that exclamation point on that is because I want people that watch the show to understand that not everything is sent to us. Like we get a lot of stuff. Don't get me wrong, but we pay for anything. I
would say it's about half and half.
We pay for our Stubs account. We could have gone to see Raya and not paid for the film and used our Stubs account.
But we wanted to pay for another movie.
Yeah, but I'm saying we could have seen that and this. We could have gone another day to watch it and waited and not had to pay out the $30. But I also personally want to support the movie.
Yeah, I mean, we pay every subscription service, and we pay the.
If I can afford to help the industry, my little chump change I know is not going to save it, but at least I know I did my part to help out.
We're trying, because it is actually very kind of depressing when you go to a big theater opening and there's like 10 people.
Yeah. Well, the movie made less than Tom and Jerry.
Oh, did it really?
In theaters,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But a lot of people established the fact that it's also not a movie with iconic established characters.
No, I know. It's brand new, but that is what drew me to the movie.
Oh, I know that.
Something
but I'm saying that's probably why more
fresh.
people saw Tom and Jerry in the theaters, because they know
it's
Tom and Jerry.
recognizable.
And Ryan and the Last Dragon, they're like, well, do we want to risk that?
Yes, I do.
So anyway, what did you think of this movie?
I love this movie.
I concur.
I want to watch it again because the baby was here.
Yeah.
We were babysitting, so I was paying attention, but I was also holding a very fussy baby who didn't want to let go. And at the end, though, I was just crying at the end.
Were you? I didn't even notice you crying.
Oh my gosh, it was so emotional. But I love this movie. I was drawn to it because it's not finally, but it is something different. It's not a Disney princess movie again.
But it is. But this is a warrior princess.
Yes, and that's what I loved about
big
Mulan.
Thing going on.
And that's what I liked about this.
That's a big thing going on in talking about this movie, is how Disney has established a new kind of princess.
Yeah, like what's her name?
Brave.
And Mulan.
This one does fall more along the lines of Brave, I think, even than Mulan, because Mulan doesn't start off as she's not a weak character, but she doesn't start off as a warrior.
Correct.
Where this one and the girl in Brave were already these strong, independent women that were kind of fighting back.
Yes.
Where this one, she's already just a warrior, trained to be that way. Mm-hmm. That's what she is. But
my favorite person is Daniel Day Kim.
Oh, the dad.
Because it looks like him.
We were watching it,
and we're like, that sounds like him.
It sure looks like
even the little animated character. It looks like, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's back.
I love the fact too that this movie, outside of, I think it's Tuk Tuk, the little doodlebug thing, which is Alan Tudyk.
Oh, that's so cute.
Every other character in the movie is Asian.
Yes, I think that was so great.
I was so happy that Kelly Marie Tran got to lead it, especially after all the crap she took, unnecessary from her time in Star Wars. And Awkwafina, I thought, was great for the dragon.
Oh, she's so fun, isn't she? And I think the character kind of looked like her at that one stage.
You know what, I want to say, because most people know I'm not a big Disney fan.
I know.
I've liked a lot of this stuff over the last few years. I'm not big on the Princess era. I like the stuff before the Princess era. You know, the Robin Hoods and the anamorphic movies, Great Mouse Detective, and all those, as well as like Sword and Stone and Black Cauldron, Fox and Hound, which is the greatest movie ever made. And then you jump ahead, that the stuff after the Princess era, I like a lot of that.
Yes.
You get into Lion Kings and some of that
all
stuff.
The animals.
This might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite, outside of Fox and the Hound. Nothing would ever be that movie. Of their movies they've done in years. It would definitely be in one of my top 10 for the year, unless something else spectacularly comes out. I currently have I think 3 top movies put on the list already for this year.
I need to start my list.
But just the visuals, it has dual visuals. It has very bright and vibrant. It has very dark and gloomy.
Yes.
And they both help to tell the story. And then you have the middle ground that's kind of both.
Yeah.
That I thought was interesting. All the characters are great. The design's great. You have, and I think every character here is memorable, from the minuscule minimum character to the main character.
Yes.
I thought they did creative stuff with them. I thought the animation was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I wrote it in the review, but I'm like, to say a Disney movie's animation is amazing seems redundant at this point. But it's like, it amazes me. Like when you watch the first sequences of the movie, it doesn't look like animation. It looks like the real world.
It looks like real people.
Until a cartoon person is there.
Yeah, because she's going through that dust thing.
Yeah.
And then all the dust and the sand and dirt's like blowing.
But even like the walls of that tunnel and the bricks.
It all looks real.
It looks like they shot it in a real tunnel and then animated a person in there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, geez, oh Pete. But like,
and I think,
and as a martial artist, the fighting and stuff they did, it looked,
that was good.
They clearly filmed and watched, and I know they do this. They did it with Mulan and a lot of other ones where they actually
have people do it.
Yeah, have people do kung fu and they watch them and then they do something. They clearly must have done something like this because the fights are so good.
They are good, and I think the other thing that you can't, I think it's fair to say the animation's better than before, because if you go back, you can YouTube it and look at some of the Disney stuff. You can see where they just recycled. They recycled so many sequences. And this is actually different. It's fresh. It's exciting. and the coloring, like you mentioned, you'll go through here the tribes. Each tribe is a different city. Okay, it's spread out, and each one has its own look.
Yeah,
and it's awesome.
So does it bother you that Disney reused so many of the sequences?
Yes, because I didn't know that until you showed it.
See,
to
and
me.
I
didn't pay attention.
I see it through a different lens. I'm like, that is genius.
I think it's shoddy.
Because I understand, but see, I think you're separating the difficulty level of the drawing and the art and the coming in with the movements. Somebody once told me, and this is not, I think this is why I let stuff like this go, is somebody said if you're drawing a comic, a cartoon, or anything else, and you go to draw something like an airplane or a car or something like this, somebody was already paid millions of dollars to design this thing. It's not your job to redesign it.
I know, and I understand, like when you're building a comic, you just want to have the clip art, drag, drop, what you can.
Well, if you're doing it digital, you do a lot of layers. So like when I used to do my webcomic, I had layers. I would use the exact same image of the exact same character, numerous frames with maybe a different arm.
I know.
So like one of my main characters, I had the same body.
I get it.
And I used the same body in every frame. I just had a different arm that I would move.
I know.
And different mouth and throw on there.
But I just want something. I feel like I was.
But you didn't know until
lied
told
to
you.
and cheated.
You didn't feel lied or cheated until somebody told you it existed.
Yeah, I know.
You saw it both with your eyes, but you didn't notice it because it was different backgrounds.
I didn't know it was young and
you have to look at what was done though, because even though it's the same movements, the entire backgrounds are different. The drawings of the characters are different. They just animated the same sequence.
And I know that for creating something and how they did it back then. Obviously, that's the way to go.
A lot of the animated features and shows and stuff used to video or take videos of actual people doing stuff, then they animated over the top of them.
Well, I remember when we went to that Disney Museum thing and we saw how they created the layers and that gigantic machine. I mean, so they were doing things kind of ahead of their time, so it makes sense.
You just bougie.
But this movie is amazing to watch.
And in a few years, when we get stuff that shows Soul in this movie and something else, and they use the same sequence, then she's going to turn into two.
Anyways, this movie is
Raya and the Last Dragon is awesome. But I do want to point out a very important public service announcement. There is, in fact, only one Last Dragon. His name is Leroy Green. But
he's got the power of the globe.
But beyond that, this movie is awesome. I love this movie.
It is really good. You just need to watch it.
I highly recommend it. I recommend paying the $30. It's worth the $30, even if you're going to watch it by yourself one time. It's worth the $30 in my opinion.
Make yourself some popcorn and a hot dog.
It's worth breaking your fear and going to the theaters and seeing even better.
I'm telling you, the theater's like the cleanest place to be.
Yeah.
Honestly, those things are clean. There's wipes everywhere.
If you have any concern about going anywhere because of COVID, the theater is the one place that you could go and probably feel the safest because you're
not
spaced out.
Anywhere near anyone.
There's not a lot of people going, so it's like, why not go?
Clean. They have those electrostatic vacuum things, and they have sanitizing stations and hand wipes everywhere.
You can pre-order your food, so it's already in a bag sitting behind the counter. They just put the bag on the counter and they step away from it. Mm-hmm. Nobody touches you. Nobody comes near you.
Correct.
It's pretty awesome.
It is.
The only other safer place I can think of would be Disney, because they're insane about keeping track of people on their.
And that lady, remember, she's like, "You need to pull your mask up, sir."
For that little kid?
No, that was that one guy. And then little kid, "You need to get off the tree, please. Get off the tree.
And pull up your mask.
Get off the tree." And I don't think they knew that she was talking to him. That they didn't know they were talking to the little boy. So he's like, "Get off the tree. Get off the tree." I'm like.
Then the parents are like, "What?" He's like, "You need to get him off the tree."
I'm like, "Dang, okay."
Anyway, Raya and the Last Dragon is in theaters now and on Disney Plus for early access.
Please
if
watch
you don't want to pay for either, like I said, wait for June 4th. It'll hit Disney Plus on June 4th, and then, of course, Blu-ray.
Or just everyone in the world come sit in the couch.
Yeah, if you want to come over here for a small nominal fee, I'll charge you.
Bring some popcorn.
I'll charge you $5, cheaper than the theater.
There you go. You can't do that. That's illegal. We are not doing that.
I'm charging $5 to get into my house, not to watch a movie.
Okay, great.
Once you're in my house, all amenities are available to you.
Anyways, this movie's great. The animation's great. The story's good. You'll cry. You'll shed a tear. You'll laugh.
And you'll get some
there's some good
ass whooping good time.
Some good fighting.
That's right.
So there you go. All right, next. We've talked about that long enough. Okay, we have 2 more movies to go. This one or this one? Let's go here and we'll end there.
So the next one is one we actually went to the theater with. Now here's our story. We were going to go see Raya and the Last Dragon in the theater.
We had tickets.
But then when I realized we had the option for that one at home and knew we were going to be watching the granddaughter, I thought, hey, let's go see this other one because you can't watch this at home.
Correct.
We'll do the other one at home. So we took a chance. I wasn't hearing good things about it. This movie had a lot of issues getting to the big screen. It's a movie called Chaos Walking, starring Tom Holland, a.k.a.
Spider-Man.
And Daisy Ridley, a.k.a.
The Last Jedi.
Ray Skywalker, no. Anyway.
She chose
it. So.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, you haven't watched it.
Where have you been?
She's not an actual Skywalker. So the story of this movie that you may or may not know.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, this movie was made in 2017. And it was, after screen tests, it was considered unreleasable. So they did some massive reshoots, from my understanding. Then, of course, COVID hit, so the thing kept getting pushed around, back and forth. The rights, if it's a young adult novel, it's a trilogy of books.
Oh, okay. Another one of those.
And I think that's some of my issues with the movie are probably because of being a trilogy. It's stuff that's going to be dealt with later, but who knows if it will be now.
I'm going to go read the book.
It didn't make a lot of money because of COVID. So we'll see how it does on pay-per-view and Blu-ray DVD later on. And they may have all moved on at this point from it. So anyway, the movie Chaos Walking, tell us what it's about.
So the movie is set in the year 2257 in the future. And of course, we've had to leave Earth and find other places to live. So they are on this settlement where Spider-Man lives with his father, and they work on a farm. And it is a town of all men. Daisy Ridley is on a spaceship, and she plays
a man.
She's going out to survey the settlement.
Because they're trying to find a new place to live.
Correct. So they're in wave number 2 that's come out. And so they've sent her and her little crew, it's a crew of people, to go check out this land, this settlement, wherever we're at on this planet. And she crash lands, and she's now the only woman.
And chaos ensues while
walking.
There you go.
Because on this planet that we've now landed on, the men's thoughts are visible and you can hear them.
It's called noise.
And it's called the noise. And women don't have noise.
Right.
Which is an interesting
because women are
thing.
super annoying.
You would think that women would have more noise. But it's interesting.
But they were talking about, there's a little quote at the beginning of that talk that I guess based on the name or title of the movie that says, a man left to his thoughts is like chaos walking. Because they're so chaotic and all over the place.
Well, and I felt like that was man as in human.
Yeah.
But it's true.
So here's the thing, is going into this movie, I kept my expectations very low because, not because I didn't think it looked interesting, but when you deal with a movie that has so many problems to get released, usually by the time it comes out and you see it, you realize why it wasn't getting released. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the book series. So.
How about doing that when we're not doing it?
I'm just leaving it so I can pick it back up.
But it's kind of like, what was that other movie? Was it World War Z? Mm-hmm. World War Z was another one that I think struggled and they had to reshoot.
Really?
But ended up being a good movie.
But it had
wispy hair, Brad Pitt.
So with his hair.
I will say this. I dug this movie.
Really?
It had its issues.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not going to say that. But for what it was and what it came off and what I thought it was going to be, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought it, wasn't action heavy. I don't think I expected it to be action heavy, which I think you did.
I think I expected a lot more.
I figured they were going to play up a lot of the whole memory thought and the thoughts in their head and all that kind of stuff a lot more. I think it struggled a little bit in some of its pacing and seemingly forgetting about issues they bring up. So there's like one element of a character that is kind of a surprise that brings in, and then it never shows up or is discussed again, which clearly means there's a bigger story
there's something else coming
because she's directly somehow connected, like in control or something without telling you the scene, and that scene goes away like it never happened.
Yeah.
And so that whole story right there is like, okay, there's a bigger story there somehow.
I think they're going to come back.
I'm assuming that's in another book.
Yeah, because it's like, this seems really important, and then it never shows up again.
Yeah, and then there's other elements where it's not really discussed about, like this is not really a spoiler, but so his dad has another man that they seemingly are raising him together as dual dads.
Correct.
But you never know, and it's never really, are they just friends raising him? you get a different vibe later in the movie that maybe they were more than friends.
Yeah, I think they were together.
Which you understand because there's no women.
Correct.
But at the same time, you're like, okay, there's got to be more to that story too.
Yeah, I wish we knew more because their relationship seems really strong
and it killed me because the whole movie,
well rooted, and like those two guys, the two men raising him, seem very separate from all the other men of the scene.
Yeah,
like,
and it was probably one of the most powerful
they're
movie
happy.
moments with them together at the end.
And I wish we had more about the relationship because I think they really loved each other. But
and the whole time I was
wish we had
looking
more.
I knew Damien Bashir, the dad.
Yeah.
The other guy, I'm like, I know who that guy is. Who is that guy?
Who is it?
That's Kurt Sutter. That's Katie Seagal's husband. He's the guy that created Sons of Anarchy.
Yes,
and,
this guy. Oh, they were
like,
so good together.
I'm like, why do I know this guy? He's so familiar. But the problem is, the only time I've ever really seen him much is in Sons of Anarchy, and the guy only has one eye. It's like he's got an eye patch.
Completely different.
He was completely blind for half the show.
Oh, Lord.
And he's beefed up a little bit more than he was in that show. He was a lot slimmer. But I'm like, holy crap, that's who that was? So
I really enjoyed the idea of being able to hear the thoughts and see they come out as like little vibration clouds, and different people have different colors.
I thought that was handled really cool the way they did that.
Like
some of them have control.
There's one guy, I'm in control.
Oh, God.
So some people have control and you don't see anything. Like they're able to control their thoughts.
But they can also project.
So that's the thing. They can project ideas or thoughts or make you see what they're seeing.
One person throws like a snake or something at somebody and it can't fight nobody or anything. It scares them because it's not real.
But then you see like the preacher character
who's lost it,
and his is all like evil,
it's
red,
his whole body,
and it's like red, fire.
Because he's fighting with the word of God in his own voice, and he doesn't know which one's which.
And he's like judgment. Yeah,
he's going crazy,
and it's just red flames.
That's a whole other element of the movie too that just seems like forgotten.
Yeah,
like they build up a whole thing with him, and then he's seemingly gotten rid of kind of quick.
Yeah, and then so it becomes this whole journey of Tom Holland trying to help Daisy Ridley find a way to communicate with the ship and say we've crash landed.
And they want to get her because she's a woman. Yeah.
And so they go on this other adventure and it becomes a way bigger story. There's several different other elements and people involved. I feel like at moments it was very slow.
It had moments.
And then there were moments where we had some really good interaction.
I will say,
between the two of them.
I honestly think what really saved this movie was Tom Holland and Daisy Ridley.
Yeah.
I thought they were great together. I thought they both gave great performances. I thought they had good chemistry. It felt like two people that were at odds, but also were opening up to each other, but then kind of found each other, but didn't trust each other all at the same time. And it kind of leads to something. And my biggest happiness was the lack of Hollywood forced relationship.
Yes.
Because, even at the end, there's something, again, I don't want to tell you because he's like, well, can I now? And it's like, no. It just kind of goes away. Like, and I'm sure that's how the book's written. That's why they did it. But Hollywood likes to twerk that because I think that's what people want to see.
Now, the flip side of me liking all the thoughts and stuff are going to be things like Mads Mikkelsen and or even a Tom Holland or Jonas, whichever Jonas it was.
Nick.
They mumble.
That was Mrs. Priyanka
Chopra Jonas. So here's the thing. Because they are the thoughts in their head, they're not as loud as their speech. So
they're mumblers.
If you have someone like my poor husband, you're not poor. There's nothing wrong with you.
I have a disability.
Who has hearing impairment.
I didn't understand a lot of what was said
because it's your inner thought, so it is quieter than your speaking voice,
and it's overlapping on purpose. It's supposed to be chaotic.
Yeah,
but there's moments that are important things you need to hear that push the story forward because every so often people communicate that way, and I'm like, I don't even know if you were watching me. Like, did you see me sitting like this
with the good ear?
Yeah, because I have one ear which is good, and
it's not good. How much percentage?
It's like if this was down here, this was like right here.
Well, when you went in for the hearing test, you thought you had one really good.
I thought I had a good one and I had a bad one. So she used to always sit on my good side. And what I realized when they said, which one did you come in for? I'm like, this one. They're like, okay, well, this one's here, but this one's down here. And I realized not my entire life, but most of my life, it wasn't so much that this here was better. I could put people on the side. That means I was concentrating or I was looking at your lips and then realized that it still wasn't very good.
You need a hearing aid.
When mask mandate started, I realized how much I was actually living with lip reading. And because now I don't hear nothing anybody says.
So I think be warned if you have a hearing impairment, or if it's difficult for you to deal with like the whole thought and the vocal happening at the same time, it's going to be difficult to follow.
Yeah, because some of it was the volume of the film in the theater. I know that because it needed to be up a little bit louder. But a lot of it, yeah, I couldn't hear a lot of it. And that was my personal issue, not the movie's issue. But it did make it harder. Like when we got out, I had to ask her some questions to make sure, like I understood the movie and everything. So it wasn't that. But I'm like, okay, just to make sure, is this what they said at this point? Is this why they did this and this? Because some of it was just like out there, because I'm like, did anybody talk about this? It was pretty obvious, you know.
You're like, yeah, they totally said that.
She's like, yeah, you know, when they were having that conversation, I said, okay, he said this, this, and this, right? She goes, yeah. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Because I hear random words and then I decipher it.
Yep.
So
anyway,
it's a very, I have a gift talent of doing that where I can listen to people, sometimes even other languages, where I can catch certain words that I know and put it together. But it's not a talent anyone should have to live with.
Anyways, Chaos Walking, I thought it was going to be more. It wasn't. It's a little slow at times. The story's fine. I don't know if they're going to do the other books.
I really dug the movie. Like I said, more than I expected, but I also probably went in with lower expectations. You went in with more action-packed expectations.
I wanted more, so I was just like, eh.
I doubt we'll ever see the other movies. I would love to, though, because I would love to see where this story goes with these two. So I don't think it'll happen thanks to the amount of money it didn't make, the amount of issues it had beforehand. But who knows? Maybe they'll say, hey, we lost it on COVID. Let's go ahead and make the other one. I don't know what kind of contracts, but obviously, if of the two, especially Tom Holland does not need to make any of these movies again. But he is no longer in contract after Spider-Man 3 with Marvel, really? So we'll see what happens. But he did say he would play Spider-Man, any Spider-Man movie they ever wanted to do.
Well, yeah, Spider-Man. Who wouldn't?
Unlike the other one.
The only thing that was funny, I don't know if you got this, but during the movie,
when he showed his butt?
No. I mean, he's got a white booty. He needs tan. But the only thing I kept thinking about was about, what's her name? And what's that Bruce Willis where she's wearing the orange pants?
Oh, Fifth Element?
Yeah, because she's wearing those orange pants
with
suspenders.
I'm like, she even had her hair like hers, but it was blonde.
I know, it was like the short blunt cut. I was like, oh, this is Fifth Element. So that's all I thought. Anyway,
I will tell you, I thought her hair from the trailer was going to annoy the piss out of me through the whole movie, and it didn't. So
it was fine.
All right, moving on. Chaos Walking is exclusively in theaters right now. It is not on demand. It is not on anything to watch at home yet.
Go buy a ticket. All right, last movie.
It's probably one of the biggest releases in years, or at least anticipated.
Yeah.
It was 30 years in the making.
Wow.
A sequel we never thought we'd get. And it's interesting.
And he doesn't look like 30 years have passed.
No, and it's funny, and I don't know if you've heard it, I'll tell you in a second, but it's interesting of why this movie got made. But of course, we're talking about Coming to America. If you've never seen the original Coming to America, first of all, how sad for you. Because it is a comedy classic.
It is.
It is probably one of, if not, probably one of Eddie Murphy's best films. It's probably one of the ones that holds up the best. It's one that almost anybody that's seen it loves it. It's hilarious. I think one of the reasons it works so well outside of the obvious is also the reason this movie isn't as strong as that one, because that other one was kind of so unique when it came out.
Yeah.
That now you know what you're walking into, which is always the hard part of doing any kind of a sequel, is you lose that fresh take, and now you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So I was stoked. I've been super excited for this film.
You have been super excited.
So what's funny is there's been a ton of interviews with Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, and one of the ones that made this movie happen, because they've been working on this movie for 4 years now.
Wow.
And that's how long it took before Eddie was allowing this script and be the one they made. But he was saying that they would go to different things, like they would see people post on Instagram, like a bunch of people dressed up as characters from the movie for
that's
Halloween.
So funny. Yes.
Or they would do screenings and people would show up dressed in costumes, or people would quote from it. And Arsenio said Eddie told him, he goes, man, this movie won't go away. And he goes, maybe we need to do a sequel then. So here we are, Coming to America. It was supposed to get a theatrical release as well. It's another one that got hit by the COVID. But it was bought by Amazon, and is an Amazon Prime exclusive film. So if you have Amazon, you can watch it as part of your subscription. They're free. If you don't have Amazon, you can't watch it.
Okay.
But you'll be able to watch it someday. So the new film, tell them what it's about.
So in the new film,
same as the old one.
Obviously 30 years later, Prince Hakeem, it's Hakeem, is married. We know he got married in the first one. He has 3 daughters. His father's now older. planning for who's going to now take the throne is essentially kind of what's happening. And there's a warring village that's at war with him.
Yeah.
And we find out why.
Which is connected to the first film.
Connected to the first film. And
he finds out what you see in the trailer. He has an illegitimate son.
Yes.
So he's got to go down. Because in Zamunda, only a man can be the king. And since he doesn't have a male heir, they find out he does have a son.
They think he'll be a weak king because he doesn't have a son.
They find out he has a son. So now he's got to come back to America to find his lost son.
Yes.
And you might think, how does he have a son in America?
Well,
there's a sequence in the first film that if you pay attention, it's pretty clear when they show in the movie how it happened, of how it could happen.
Yeah, it all makes sense.
So there's some people arguing about that I've seen online. There's even an element of that some people have a problem with that sequence. I guess I get it, but I don't really at the same time because I didn't see it like that.
I mean, it could have happened.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the angry part of it, which I didn't really get that.
Why don't y'all get angry about that when it happens in real life?
I know.
The female variety.
But anyway.
Come on.
That's neither here nor there.
We're not getting into that. This is a funny movie. Yeah, it's not a heavy.
So this movie has a lot of the same tropes and vibe of the original. They
get some of the same jokes and characters.
They get the same character. I would give them mad props for the amount of detail they went into of bringing in characters from the original film.
Yes.
We're going to try not to spoil anything for you on it, but you have to pay attention because there's some characters that are so throwaway from the first film, and they show up and you're like, wait. Mm-hmm. Especially there's some at the end. Yeah. And we were like, wait a minute, that was them? Mm-hmm. And it's seeing them was so awesome because you immediately it's just a fun movie.
And I think the thing that helped is that we watched the first one right before this.
Yeah,
we watched them back to back. So
of course it could have been better. There are some jokes in my opinion that feel a little bit forced. Some of them kind of fall flat, but at the same time, I think the new cast were great. That popped in. Mm-hmm. I think Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy were great. Wesley Snipes stole the show. Yeah, he's so good. I think Leslie Jones stole the show.
She's funny, man.
and I think that dynamic made it work. I know there were some people also complaining, the majority of the movie takes place in Zamunda. Mm-hmm. So people were throwing a picture with well, why are you having coming to America? You don't even hardly go to America. And loses the fish out of water. But it's still that same story.
It's the same story.
In a different flipped way. And I personally love the movie. I thought it was funny.
I thought it was fun.
I thought it was a funny movie. I think it's the kind of movie we need right now and all this craziness.
Just some dumb fun.
Yeah. Is it as good as the original? Of course not.
But it's still funny. And there's some still good jokes. And it's kind of the same formula, essentially. But that's okay.
I mean, I would have loved to see a wholly different thing. But at the same time, it's when you're taking a movie like this, what really would you do differently? Are we going to just go watch Prince Akeem and his family troubles at home and just watch them run around and rule? Yay. That's kind of what clearly has been going on this whole time. Now we're jumping into something else. Now, the solutions to everything seem kind of pretty easily solved and quick.
Yeah, that's one thing. There was a big ruckus, and then he's in 5 minutes, it's over, and we move on. I'm like, okay, why don't we just do that at the beginning? But that's okay.
But I also think that's setting up the idea of this is the movie that we're making, right? Yeah. And right out the gate, it has all kinds of surprises. And cameos. There's so many fun cameos in the movie.
I was like, what? What? I want to watch it again just for this whole.
Well, we can watch it anytime.
That whole sequence.
Opening sequence.
Yes.
And then there's later ones, and then there's even a fun thing in the credits.
Yes.
So I thought the movie was a blast. I thought it was way better than it had any right to be. Yeah. I thought it was a fun movie. I think it's a great companion piece to the original movie. I don't think it holds a candle in relation to status to the first movie, so I'm not saying that. But I think if I wanted to watch them, I would always watch them back to back.
I would too.
And I think it works perfect.
Yeah.
I think
it's great.
Like I said, I think the first one has some issues. If you want to get technical, not all of it works. But now, fun fact, Wesley Snipes was actually auditioned and was up for the role that Eric LaSalle plays in the first movie, which is the Soul Glow boyfriend. He wanted that role, and he thought he had that role, and then found out Eric LaSalle got it. So now, 30 years later, and now he's playing this general guy.
He's so fun. He's got a lot of style.
He does, and him and Eddie working together on Dolomite Is My Name, and then bringing him over here to this. It was great. It was great. It's another case of it's always great to see Eddie Murphy come back and look like he's having fun and doing stuff. Because Eddie's not one for press. So when you see Eddie Murphy in press, he looks grumpy.
Yeah.
You know, but if you hear stories from like Kevin Hart, Arsenio Hall, and Chappelle, they talk about hanging out at his house and how he's doing ventriloquism and he's funny and he's a private person and he has a circle of people that he likes to talk to. When he steps out of that, he's not really comfortable.
Yeah.
Like even if you watch him doing interviews with Dolomite Is My Name, he seemed very standoffish.
Yeah. And I think that's why, too, I appreciate that he did all these interviews with Arsenio.
Yeah.
Because Arsenio, obviously, he knows how to do the whole thing. Well, if you watch him,
Arsenio does most of the talking.
Yeah.
And then Eddie just kind of takes some jabs. Because even when Eddie did Arsenio's show, Eddie didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Because that's just not what Eddie does.
And then we started watching old Arsenio clips.
Yeah, because he was on Stern this week, and then we were watching some old Arsenio stuff.
So good. I miss Arsenio Hall.
We supported
and I know he came back.
We supported that show. We watched it every day, the new one, too, when it came out.
Oh, well.
So
okay.
Anyway.
So you need to check out Coming to America.
I understand if you watch it and you probably don't like it, because I've seen a lot of people who didn't. I saw somebody that said they watched 30 minutes and didn't find anything funny until Leslie Jones showed up. But I'm like,
well, that's okay.
That made me worried because that was before we watched it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no. Now, watching it, I'm like, I was laughing at the beginning.
It was immediately funny to me, but maybe we like dumb comedy.
Well, also, I think a lot of people walk on the heels of nostalgia. And so some people are like, this is clearly a fan service movie.
Yeah.
This is a movie that was made to give something back to the fans with a lot of the same jokes, the same characters. You know, like I was getting mad at first because we hadn't seen Randy Watson. We hadn't seen Reverend Brown.
Wow.
You know, you see them in the trailer, so you know they're coming, but I'm like, where are they? You know, and
you need to calm down.
It took us a little while before I finally got Reverend Watson and Sexual Chocolate right here on the wall.
Oh, Lord, I can't believe it.
I'm on my computer like this. So you see Randy Watson.
We do have Sexual Chocolate
on the wall. If you want that poster, if you get it with this lovely Coming to America Steelbook edition that Paramount put out, it comes with the Randy Watson poster.
Lord,
this is the 4K edition.
Obviously, we are fans of this movie.
That's all Randy Watson.
Anyways, just watch it, have fun, get your popcorn, be ready. And I would watch the first one and then head into this, so it's fresh. So you can
you're not going to get some of the jokes.
Catch all of the stuff, because it's directly picks up.
Like I would have missed a couple of the little cameos and stuff had I not gone back and rewatched it.
I agree.
I've seen this other one a billion times, but I still would have missed it.
Yeah, it was fresh in our mind. So there you go.
Hold on,
check it out. I didn't post a link, but I will right now. Oh my goodness, so fun. All right.
I got to do our plug real quick, too.
All right. We're moving on. Thank you so much. It's available now on
Amazon Prime.
There you go.
And you can also get this 4K edition from Paramount. It is available now of the original Coming to America. All right. So really quick, this is an unasked for plug. This is not a sponsor of our show, but I decided to do it because it's somebody we know, and it's a time people need these things. Anyway, we have a friend that their daughters have started a business. They've been doing it for a little while now. They make these fun little masks, all kinds of different things. Like these are all some Star Wars ones. Really two. Did you keep the other one? I guess
I got one.
Oh, okay. I thought I had all three of them.
No, I didn't take it.
I mean, in the living room, did you keep the one before I took them away?
No,
I think you did. I think it's sitting over
there. Oh.
Anyway, they make some masks. These are both Star Wars related. They make all kinds of stuff. They also, I think, do some water bottles. They made blankets for our dogs, chew toys for the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little company called Settle Sisters. That's two sisters named Settle.
There you go.
They have an Etsy shop. It's etsy.com/shop/Settle Sisters. You can get all kinds of little fun things that they make, scrunchies and all kinds of girly things that I don't understand. But obviously the mask.
We get into an argument about what he doesn't understand.
Yeah, the big mask. We did get an argument last night because you're dummy.
Because you're a dummy.
Big masks.
You don't understand.
That everybody's using right now. So if you need anything, they also have a Facebook page, Settle Sisters. So go check it out. SETTLE Sisters.
All right.
That's a shameless plug for them.
What
are you doing?
I'm trying to make the dog comfortable.
Okay, well, we're fixing to leave anyway.
Because
so
I care
he
about
doesn't need to be any more comfortable
his comfort. All righty. What have we got, honey? What's coming out?
What are we on? Blu-rays and DVDs?
Blu-rays and DVDs.
All right, this week's another kind of small week. We have Russian Raid coming out, which is not a remake of The Raid. It's the director loved the film and did his homage to Raid, which I'll talk about next week. We have a movie called Rent a Pal. I don't know what it's about, but apparently you're renting a pal. Ip Man Kung Fu Master is coming out. It is not part of the Donnie Yen movie. It's a whole different Ip Man movie. Vanguard, which is a Jackie Chan movie that I saw. Old school Jackie Chan vibe, like Operation Condor or stuff like that, with really, really horrible CGI. So the CGI, I know one reviewer that loved the movie, but the CGI was so bad it ruined the movie for him. And I was kind of that case, but I expected it because I saw the Kung Fu Yoga had a lot of the bad same great movie, but had a lot of the bad same CGI. But I think it's also the same filmmaker. So anyway, check those out. Those are the big ones.
Okay.
What you got?
All right. So coming out this week. It says nationwide. Something called The Long Weekend. It's Damon Wayans Jr. I'm assuming it's some sort of romantic thing. A video demand digital. The movie Trust. Can she trust her husband, Owen? We'll find out. Here we go, because we need more Tom Holland in our life. Coming to Apple Plus, Cherry.
I'm looking forward to that. He's like a drug addict or something. Everybody's saying it's pretty good.
This is interesting. It's video demand digital. It's called Dark Web Cicada 3301. It's based on a real life series of unsolved mysteries in Canada, I think, or something. I don't remember. No, it's not. It's NSA. Where's
you
NSA?
You just made up your own biography,
didn't NSA?
NASA?
No, that's a secret.
That's a national security agency.
Oh, well, maybe it's in the U.S. I thought it was in some other country.
Just move on.
It doesn't matter. It's a series of things. Some guy on the dark web named Cicada 3301. Okay, this looks funny and interesting. The Netflix movie Yes Day, where you say yes to everything for 24 hours and kids can do whatever they want.
Is it a documentary or
it's Jennifer Garner.
Oh.
So you may already be out, but I'm in.
I'll watch it. This one really good one.
This one? Oh.
We're watching that one.
So we're going to be watching this soon. It's now expanded release, The Father, with Anthony Hopkins, Imogen Poots.
It appears he's dealing with some dementia or something. He was nominated for a Golden, or the movie
Olivia
was nominated for a Golden Globe.
Coleman, who most of y'all know from the Queen. What's it called?
I think so.
The Crown.
The Crown.
That's it, really. And then if we can try to catch up on some other things from last week, we will, because there was so much coming out.
We got The Father we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about, hopefully get to talk about the movie Land, which is the one with
this too.
The lady, what's her name? Jenna.
Oh, yeah.
Where she goes off the grid.
Yes, that looks interesting. We need to watch Boss Level from last week. Oh, yes,
Boss Level we're watching tonight.
So
I want to watch that now.
There you go.
I've been looking forward to that one.
All right.
So
lot to do.
Oh, we got to talk about the giveaways real quick.
Giveaways are coming.
All right, so pop them up, sister.
All right.
So we still got numerous giveaways, and we have a couple more on the horizon. First up, excuse me, we still have copies of. Wait for it to pop up so I can see it. All right, we still have copies of the very excellent Mr. Dundee, which is the not documentary, but like a
mockumentary.
Not even a mockumentary. He's just Paul Hogan playing himself in kind of a parody of himself, but it's a fun movie. If you don't know who Paul Hogan is,
where have you been?
He's a national treasure to both America and Australia.
There you go.
Then we also have the movie we talked about earlier today, Crazy Samurai 400 vs. 1. So we'll be giving away copies of that. We also have copies of Scooby-Doo, The Sword and the Scoob that we talked about last week. And I still got more copies of Jiang Xia, which is why we've kept this one up for a little bit longer than normal than I would have them up. Still got extra ones, so if you still want copies of that. We also have copies of Russian Raid that we're going to talk about next week. And lastly, we do not have copies. This is a digital copy of News of the World with Tom Hanks.
It's
we've
really
talked about
good.
Him, so it's a great movie. But we have digital copies of that to give away. And I have another one that will be going up live this week. Is this movie here, Cosmo Ball, which is a science fiction animation video game looking type film. I don't know anything about it yet. I've seen the trailer, so I'll be talking about that probably next week as well.
All right.
And I have a couple other ones that are post pop up. I'm just waiting for approvals.
Okay, there you go.
That's what's happening.
That's what's happening. All right, so check out our website, HollywoodMatrimony.com. Don't forget to hit the contest button. That's where all the free stuff is. That's where you want to be. Thank you so much for watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. Don't forget to find us on the Instagram and the Twitter.
That's right. And we'll be back here next Sunday for an all-new episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. No idea about the other shows. We'll get to them when we get to them. Get over yourself. If you want to have any ideas for movies you want us to talk about, anything else that's not either we haven't talked about or you'd like to hear us talk about, whether it's new or old, shoot us a message. We'll be glad to try to watch it if I can find it, and we'll give you what
I'm assuming we can find it in this room somewhere.
If you have a movie that's your favorite movie,
I'd love to know.
Tell us your favorite movie, and then we will talk about said movie the next show.
I hope our faithful watchers will tell us.
Let's do that. We just created a new bit online.
There you go.
So
send
if
us.
you during the week, email us.
Who's the lady we always send things to?
Lisa.
Lisa, what's your favorite movie?
Lisa fixed to send something else to you too, by the way.
The Fraleys, what's your favorite movie?
So anybody that watches the show,
I'm calling y'all out.
Not just people we know personally.
Sean.
I don't know Lisa personally. She's just a fan.
We have no idea who Lisa is, but we love you.
She's one of our loyal fans from the beginning.
What's the other guy?
Lisa and Luke.
Luke?
Ironically.
What's your favorite movie?
But yeah, if you have a movie that's your favorite movie of all time, tell us what it is. Even if you have to just pick one, it doesn't matter. Somebody asked me recently, I'm going to ask you, what's your favorite movie of all time?
I will probably still stick with The Wizard of Oz.
See, I can't do that because I had to tell the person. I said I have
like 5.
I don't have a single favorite. I have favorites per genre. So
I like that. I love G.I. Jane, Chef.
All right, before we leave, let's do this. What's your favorite comedy?
Chef.
What's your favorite horror film?
Oh, I'll probably. I don't know if it's really horror, but Underworld, the series.
Not really, but okay, I'll let you have that one.
What's your favorite? Scream.
That's where I thought you were going to go. What's your favorite action movie?
Oh gosh, I'll probably pick G.I. Jane, even though that's a drama.
See,
favorite animated movie is going to be Aladdin. Probably Aladdin.
All right.
That's hard.
So see, that makes it harder. So I always have to go by genre. So like my favorite horror / slasher movie is High Tension.
Oh, that one's good. Good movie.
If I had to go action, I have to break action up into martial arts and action because I have different levels. So, like, martial arts would be probably something more like Ip Man or The Raid.
I'd pick The Raid.
If I'm going old school classic, it's going to be probably something like Lone Wolf McQuade.
I think Octagon's the one that I like, right?
With the ninjas?
I don't know, where he's fighting, he walks through that thing, and there's flames. I think it is an octagon, and
it's like the wooden
he's wearing all black. Yeah.
Yeah, that's with the ninjas.
Okay, that's the one. So, no, Firecracker.
Firecracker is the bomb, but anyway, shoot us a message of what your favorite movie is, and we can, if we haven't seen it, we'll watch it. If we have seen it, we'll give your opinion, and we'll tell your name on the show. If we choose your movie, we will give you a prize.
Look at this sweet baby. Yeah.
So I have multiple copies of some of the movies. Some of the stuff might have other things here they give us. So just let me know. But if we pick your movie, we'll give you a prize. We'll talk about it on the show. All right?
Okay,
simple as that.
Bye, baby.
That's it. Why are you all up in everybody's face, dog?
Later saying bye to everyone. We'll talk to you next week.
Right, peace and